People, we've reached the promised land. We finally have cannon busters. It's been many a night, but it's here for us to finally gaze upon it in all its glory. I'm just so happy. It's finally here for us to witness. I've been following this project for some minute and waiting for some platform to finally pick it up. Granted, it's Netflix, still kind of a question mark considering their record with advertising, but this is still great that we have this here and now. It's so fun and beautiful. It's so glorious.
I feel a few pounds lighter.
This series is created by Lesean Thomas, who worked on a plethora of different shows, including Boondocks and Black Dynamite, and made this series based on a comic that he made of the same name. So that's kind of cool that he was able to get a show based off of his comic and be in charge of it. I just find that amazing that he got his baby turned into a full series and shows off great black representation, with the characters being majority black and even some of them using a bit of the lingo, like a southern black woman saying "one mo again." It's just a fine example of black excellence in my mind. The premise is about an unlikely group of travelers going through the western-like bounty hunter-filled land of Gearbolt to reunite two friends. Seems like a small premise, but it manages to get a lot from it with how insane it can be and how deep the lore is. It's honestly just a ton of fun, since in their travels they go to these exotic places to meet a colorful cast of characters. There is a secondary storyline that involves a fallen kingdom and a fugitive prince, but it's not as interesting as the A plot line. But it still gives a fun experience by having this nice yet danger-filled world that you honestly want to see more of.
It's one of my favorite things!
The characters are just absolute fun. You will not forget the main cast here. You have Sam, who's an assist droid or special associate model who's looking for her best friend, who's a prince of this kingdom called Boudica. She's very innocent on the surface with her cheerful and sometimes blissfully ignorant attitude. She befriends people pretty easily, mainly due to her being programmed that way, which gives a good likability factor to her. She's on a mission to find her friend Kelby, whose kingdom got overthrown. She has a secret to her with her being a legendary weapon called a cannon buster, which makes her go into this destructive mode where she's super powerful, but when she returns to normal, she doesn't remember anything about what happened.
Philly seems fine. Thank you. You got us here just in time, Casey.
Wait, I got us here? You mean you don't remember?
There's Casey Turnbuckle, who's a maintenance droid looking for an upgrade. She's pretty bubbly in her attitude, even to a point when she says more morbid things with a gleeful voice.
So what happens if you don't eat food?
We get really cranky.
Then they kill over and die!
We're gonna need something a lot bigger.
Ooh, will you make Bessie big again so we can bathe in destruction?
She's honestly just a cute and sometimes innocent little droid, but she actually has a sympathetic side with her wanting to be useful and appreciated by her friends. She gets an episode that hit pretty hard.
Will my friends be able to come collect me afterwards?
They are free to take out as much as they have brought in.
Tell them I'm sorry I couldn't fix everything or make their lives better, but every day with them made me feel brand new. I'm ready to help them now, one last time.
Next, there's Philly the Kid.
I get it.
He's basically a guy who can't be killed due to a mysterious curse placed on him that makes him immortal. They play around with that by having him die in certain ways. That's honestly pretty funny. Like if he gets melted by some type of acid or so, it's just kind of graphic but funny at the same time. It's even funnier when they show the amount of times that he's died by having it sort of tattooed on his body. Just makes you realize he's not exactly good at his job. He's pretty deplorable in some of his actions. He can be perverted, self-centered, and a total jerk. He ultimately doesn't want to have anything to do with Sam or Casey, but he gets roped into their adventures. He talks a big game like he's this true badass, but he's a goober. He has this big kick-ass car that turns into a mech that looks like a bull. It's just pure, unfabricated awesomeness though. Whenever it's on screen, you just gotta get a little giddy with excitement because you know it's about to go down with it. He has a bit of a history with Sam's friend Kelby since his family was killed by the Prince's kingdom when he was a kid, so there is a sense of vengeance behind his friendship with Sam. he eventually comes to enjoy Sam and Casey's company. He manages to get along with them, a smidge begrudgingly though, so there's usually that. Their dynamic is a very fun and unique one, and it honestly is a little reminiscent of a lot of other road trip animes where the characters just meet up and they go on these wacky adventures. And that's just something you can kind of appreciate. It's just another great road trip type of series, and the world itself is ultimately the big draw here. But the crew does manage to work well in balancing each other's strengths and weaknesses, and acts as a good foil for each other's personalities, and an interesting conflict that comes to fruition in the end.
You're so thoughtful. I really appreciate you.
The world that the gang has to traverse through has a colorful cast of characters and environments. They come across many towns with weird assortments of people, like humanoid animals mixed in with normal humans, bounty hunters who have an odd quirk to them, and so on. The group gets joined by a man named Nine, who's an old samurai drunkard, who ultimately somehow gets stronger when he drinks. It's odd, but I give it a unique pass. That's kinda cool. Hell, that would probably be useful to Merlin drivers. Some of them are sober, yet clearly need their licenses revoked. But anyway, he has a major could care less attitude towards just about anything unless it's alcohol. He's pretty badass when it comes to his skills with a sword, though he only shows up for like a few episodes and comes back later on, but with what you get, he's still pretty fun. There's even a deep lore to the entire world that involves magic being a prominent thing before it got taken out. There's more of a storyline involving that element, which is more or less the reason Sam is on her mission, which involves a fallen kingdom with a vengeful son wanting to take the kingdom from the rightful young ruler. But it kinda isn't that strong because the secondary characters that are more involved with that story aren't that interesting, including the villains. The villains are intimidating, but they just don't have that strong personality. At least it's not showcased too much. You find more investment with the main group because they're enjoyable to be around, and you have a lot more fun, especially because their personalities are at the forefront. The other characters are kind of sticks in the mud who you don't tend to care for since they're always on mission. If they had some moments to chill or had more interactions with the main group, they'd have more to work with. Thankfully, there's not much time dedicated to them, and we spend more time with the main group more. That might be the only gripe I have with the show. Otherwise, it's still a pretty fantastic show.
Oh, come on. I hate my life.
The animation is in that anime style, which makes sense considering Lesean's history in animation. It brings the world to life with very vibrant city environments and old western areas. It does the job great, especially when an action sequence is needed to take place. It uses 3D CGI whenever there's a big mech on screen, but it works better than many other animes that use CGI. They don't move so choppily, so it's commendable in the execution. There are a few shots where it's like, okay, that could use a little touching up here and there, but it's kind of a season 1 jitter type deal. I'm pretty sure by the next season it gets fixed pretty well, because this is honestly still a damn good looking series, and the way they do it, it's very, very appreciated. This is a pure fun series. The characters are just a riot with strong serious moments when it's needed. The world has a lot going on to keep investment pretty high and allows for unique environments and characters to be utilized. The animation is amazing and gives great spectacle when good action and comedic timing is done. You could use a little fixing up every here and there for just a few small shots, but it's still grade A. The small gripe is just the secondary characters need to have a bit more interest to them. Just having them interact with the main cast more, or have them just kind of take a break from the main plot for a second, and that'll probably rectify the problem. Otherwise, this is just a pure fun series to watch and just something that should be appreciated, and a great example of black excellence. But that's just a thought.